He always believed he understood every corner of his mansion, every person who entered its gates, every detail of his daughter's life. As a billionaire who controlled companies, investments, and hundreds of employees, he thought nothing could surprise him anymore. But on that quiet afternoon, as he walked through the garden expecting to confront a stranger, he was about to discover the biggest shock of his life, one that would challenge everything he believed about wealth, kindness, and human value. For several weeks, he had noticed something unusual. His daughter, normally shy and reserved, had started sneaking out to the garden after school. She never told him whom she was meeting. She simply said she was reading. But lately she looked happier, more confident, more alive. And every time he tried to ask her why, she would simply smile and say, "It's nothing, Dad." To him, that was a signal he needed to find out for himself. Today was the day he decided to follow her quietly, walking across the soft grass with the suspicion of a man who had seen enough people use his daughter for money, status, or opportunity. He expected to find a spoiled rich kid, maybe a boy she liked, or some classmate pretending to be her friend. Instead, what he found made him freeze. There, sitting calmly on the garden bench, were two girls, his daughter and another girl he had never seen before. But the moment he saw them sitting side by side, leaning over the same book, laughing gently as they compared pages, he felt something he wasn't used to feeling. Confusion mixed with curiosity, all wrapped inside a strange emotional pull. The mysterious girl looked like she belonged in this perfect environment. Her clothes were simple but clean, her hair brushed neatly, her posture graceful. Nothing about her hinted at trouble. Nothing suggested she was someone to worry about. She looked almost like a reflection of his own daughter, calm, focused, and peaceful. And yet something about her presence didn't feel familiar. He knew every wealthy family in town, every business partner's child, every VIP's daughter. But he had never seen this girl. He kept watching them from a distance, hidden just enough not to disturb them. Their connection was natural, pure, unforced. His daughter looked at the girl with admiration, respect, even affection. And the girl looked back with warmth and patience, as if teaching, comforting, guiding. It made no sense. Why would his daughter be so deeply bonded with someone he didn't know? And why did this mysterious girl seem so humble, so grounded, so different from the privileged kids he was used to seeing around her? A sudden breeze fluttered the pages of the book they were reading, and the billionaire took a few steps closer, just enough for the truth to begin forming in his mind, even before he wanted to believe it. The girl's shoes were worn out, the bottoms thin, almost tearing apart. Her sweater, though clean, had tiny mended stitches on the sleeves. Her hands, resting softly on the book, carried faint marks, small scars that come from doing things rich children never do. Lifting heavy objects, handling rough materials, surviving the streets. That was when the shock hit him like a wave. She wasn't from a rich family. She wasn't someone's privileged daughter. She wasn't even someone who belonged in circles like his. She was someone he had seen before but never looked at long enough to remember, someone who sat quietly near the school gate, not asking for money, not begging, not causing trouble. She simply sat there with a small backpack, reading whatever book she could find. The girl everyone else ignored. The girl he himself walked past without a second thought. And now she was sitting with his daughter as if she belonged here. He approached slowly, and the two girls finally noticed him. His daughter's eyes widened in surprise, but not fear. The mysterious girl simply closed the book gently, placed it on her lap, and lowered her gaze respectfully. There was humility in her posture, but also strength, like someone who has learned to survive without asking anything from anyone. He cleared his throat and asked the question that had been burning inside him. Who is she? His daughter looked at him with a mixture of pride and guilt. Dad, she's my friend. He wasn't satisfied. But where is she from? Silence. The other girl finally lifted her eyes and spoke softly. I'm not from anywhere, sir. A simple sentence, but powerful enough to freeze the billionaire's breath. His daughter gently placed her hand on the girl's shoulder and said, Dad, she's the girl who sits near the school fence. The one people ignore. I saw her reading alone every day. One time her book was torn, so I gave her one of mine. And then we started studying together. She's really smart. Smarter than anyone in my class. The billionaire blinked in disbelief. He looked at the girl again, not with the eyes of a suspicious parent, but with the eyes of a man seeing a human soul for the first time. The girl wasn't meeting his daughter to ask for food. Not to ask for money. Not to ask for help. She came to teach. She came to share knowledge. She came to give something she never had. He asked quietly, "Why do you keep coming back?" The girl seemed unsure whether she should answer. But after a moment, she said softly, "Because your daughter loves learning. And I wanted to help her. I wanted to give her what nobody ever gave me." The billionaire's heart cracked open. No one had ever spoken to him like that, not with innocence, not with sincerity. He felt something unfamiliar rising in his chest. A feeling he didn't expect. A feeling that humbled him. He realized how blind he had been. Surrounded by wealth, yet unable to recognize real value. Surrounded by luxury, yet unaware of true kindness. Surrounded by privilege, yet unable to see the quiet strength of someone who had nothing, yet carried more dignity, intelligence, and generosity than many people he had met in his world. He took a breath and quietly asked the girl, "Do you want to study, properly? In a real school?" She looked away quickly, as if the offer was too big to be real. "Sir, I wouldn't want to be a problem." His daughter instantly grabbed her hand. "Dad, please." He didn't hesitate anymore. "You're not a problem. You're a blessing. If you want an education, I will make sure you get the best one. Starting today." Tears welled up in the girl's eyes, but she tried to hide them. She had lived her entire life feeling invisible. And now someone was seeing her. But the biggest shock wasn't for her. It was for him. Because in that very moment, the billionaire realized something he had spent his entire life chasing but never found until now. Real wealth isn't in the mansion behind him. It isn't in his bank accounts. It isn't in his success. Real wealth is in the heart that gives, even when it has nothing. And the girl sitting before him had just taught him a lesson he would never forget. That evening, after their unexpected meeting in the garden, the billionaire couldn't get the girl's voice out of his mind. The way she spoke quietly but with so much depth felt like an echo somewhere deep in his chest. He kept replaying her words, the simplicity of them, the honesty. "I wanted to give her what nobody ever gave me." He had heard thousands of people speak in his lifetime, business leaders, politicians, investors, people who pretended to be sincere while chasing their own benefits. But this one sentence from a girl with nothing had more power than all the speeches he'd heard in boardrooms. It wasn't just kindness, it was truth. And truth was something rare in his world. Later that night, he called his daughter into his study. She came in nervously, unsure if she was in trouble. But the billionaire wasn't angry, he was thoughtful, softer than usual. He asked her gently, "How long have you been meeting her?" His daughter hesitated only a second. "Almost 5 months." 5 months. That meant the girl had been visiting quietly, secretly, consistently. Not to take but to give. The billionaire leaned back in his chair, absorbing the weight of that revelation. Most people he dealt with couldn't keep their promises for a week. Yet this girl, with no home, no comfort, no support, had shown more consistency and loyalty than anyone around him. He looked at his daughter's innocent face and asked the question he knew already had an answer. "Do you trust her?" Without hesitation, "More than anyone in my class." That was enough for him. The next day, while his daughter was at school, the billionaire drove alone to the place where the girl usually Saturday. It wasn't a place someone should live near. Broken sidewalks, cold cement, a quiet alley where people passed quickly without looking around. And there she was sitting on a flattened cardboard box, holding the same worn-out book, reading as if the world around her didn't exist. He approached slowly so he wouldn't scare her. She looked up surprised, confused. She wasn't expecting a billionaire to show up on her sidewalk. He stood there for a moment, not as a rich man, but as a human being trying to speak carefully. "You don't belong here," he said softly. She lowered her eyes. "I don't belong anywhere, sir." That answer hit him like a punch to the chest. No child should say that sentence. No child should feel that way. He took a shallow breath and extended his hand, not in authority, but in invitation. "Come with me." Not as charity. Not as pity. But because you deserve a place where you are seen, not ignored. She stared at his hand for a long moment. It wasn't fear that stopped her, it was disbelief. People like her didn't get invited anywhere. They were told to move, to leave, to disappear. But no one had ever said, "Come with me." Not once. Slowly, carefully, she put her small hand into his. And for the first time in years, she felt the warmth of someone who wasn't pushing her away. When they reached the mansion, the staff froze. A billionaire arriving with a girl who clearly wasn't dressed like the others, this wasn't normal. But the billionaire didn't care about how it looked. He cared about what was right. He called the housekeeper, a kind older woman who had raised his daughter like a second mother. He told her, "Prepare a room for her." A room. The girl blinked rapidly. She didn't know if she had heard correctly. She hadn't slept in a real room in years. And now someone wanted to give her one. The billionaire's daughter ran out the moment she saw her. She hugged her tightly, excited, almost crying. "You're here. Does this mean you're staying?" The girl didn't know what to say. She looked at the billionaire, unsure. He nodded gently. "If she wants to." The girl's voice trembled. "I don't want to be a burden." The billionaire crouched so he was eye level with her. "Listen carefully. You are not a burden. You are someone who brings light into this home. You helped my daughter when she needed it. Now let us help you." They took her upstairs to a guest room, large, bright, with a soft bed, fresh sheets, warm lighting. She didn't step inside at first. She stood in the doorway, frozen. Her eyes filled slowly with tears. She whispered, "This is too much for me." But the housekeeper smiled warmly. "No, dear. This is just the beginning." For the first time in her life, the girl slept without fear. Without cold. Without noise. Without waking up every few minutes to check her bag, her shoes, her few belongings. She slept deeply, peacefully, like someone who had finally found a place where the world couldn't hurt her. The next morning, the billionaire found her sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at the sunlight on the floor, almost afraid to move. When he asked if she slept well, she looked up with wide eyes and said the sentence that broke him completely, "I didn't know sleep could feel like this." From that day on, she became part of the family not by blood, but by choice. She helped his daughter with homework, joined them for meals quietly, always shy, always grateful. She cleaned her plate carefully so she wouldn't look wasteful, walked lightly so she wouldn't disturb anyone, folded her blanket perfectly every morning, habits from a life where she had nothing and expected nothing. But slowly, the house changed around her. The staff began smiling more. The billionaire's daughter laughed more. The mansion felt alive in a way it hadn't in years. And the billionaire himself, who had spent his life surrounded by wealth, felt something new in his home. Warmth. He didn't know it yet, but moving her in was only the beginning. The real story, the one that would shake the entire city, was still coming. The morning she first went to school from the mansion felt unreal to her. She wore a clean uniform the housekeeper had tailored overnight, shoes that actually fit, and a small backpack filled with real school supplies, not scraps she had collected from trash bins. She kept touching the straps as they drove, as if expecting them to disappear at any moment. The billionaire's daughter sat beside her, smiling, excited to finally show her friend to everyone. But the girl's heart was pounding. She wasn't used to being seen. She wasn't used to belonging somewhere. And she wasn't prepared for what was waiting on the other side of the school gate. When they arrived, the school guard who once watched her from a distance without saying a word froze when he saw her stepping out of a luxury car. His face tightened with confusion. He opened the gate slowly, eyes glued to the girl who had always walked past him quietly, unnoticeably, like a shadow. Today she wasn't a shadow. Today she was arriving alongside a billionaire's daughter. Students in the courtyard stopped talking. Their conversations broke mid-sentence. Heads turned. Some whispered. Some stared openly. Some looked her up and down with disbelief. She could feel every eye digging into her clothes, her face, her movements, comparing, judging, searching for a story that made sense. Because in their world, a girl who used to sit outside the school fence didn't suddenly walk in like she belonged. The billionaire's daughter held her hand tightly. She leaned in and whispered, "Ignore them. You're with me." But the girl already felt the shift in the air, the quiet cruelty of privileged children sensing a target. The first whispers came quickly. Is that her? Isn't she the one who sits outside the gate? No way, why is she wearing a uniform? Did she sneak in? Did they adopt her or something? Probably charity. Look at her shoes. They're new. Their voices were low, but sharp enough to cut through her chest. She lowered her gaze, wishing she could shrink back into the quiet corner she used to vanish into. The billionaire's daughter glared at them, but her anger wasn't enough to stop what came next. Because among the wealthy students was a group who ruled the school socially, not smarter, not kinder, just louder, meaner, and more confident because of their parents' money. The leader of that group, a girl with cold eyes and a perfect glossy ponytail, stepped forward with a cruel smile forming at the corner of her mouth. She folded her arms and blocked their path. Well, well, she said loudly so everyone could hear. Look who finally came to join us. The little charity project. The girl froze. She didn't know what to say. Her silence made the crowd lean closer. The billionaire's daughter stepped in front of her defensively. She's my friend. Leave her alone. But the ponytail girl laughed. Friend. Don't be ridiculous. She used to sit on the ground outside the school, reading trash. And now what, she thinks she's one of us because she slept in your big house for one night. Murmurs spread instantly. Some laughed. Some pretended not to, but still listened eagerly. The girl's face burned. Her hands shook. She wanted to run, but she remembered the billionaire's words. You're not a burden. You're a blessing. She tried to breathe. But the bully wasn't done. She stepped closer until she was inches away. Tell us, charity girl, did they give you that uniform? Or did you steal it? That sentence hit the girl like a slap. She had been accused of many things in her life: begging, loitering, being worthless, but never stealing. That cut deep, deeper than the bully could understand. The billionaire's daughter snapped angrily. She didn't steal anything. My father bought it for her. The courtyard erupted. What? No way. She lives with them. She moved into the mansion. This is insane. Why would a billionaire bring her in? This time the girl couldn't hide the tremble in her fingers. Her secret, the life she never wanted attention for, was now gossip in the richest school in the city. The bully smirked and stepped back dramatically, acting offended. Oh, I see, so she's trying to climb up. Makes sense. Stray dogs always look for someone to feed them. Gasps filled the air. A few teachers in the distance turned their heads but did nothing. This was how the school worked. Rich families complained. Teachers obeyed. And the bully was the daughter of the school's biggest donor. The billionaire's daughter almost screamed, "Stop!" But before she could, something unexpected happened. The homeless girl, that quiet, gentle soul, lifted her head for the first time since arriving. Her eyes were filled with something powerful. Not anger. Not fear. Something deeper. She stepped forward and said, voice steady despite everything shaking inside her. I didn't ask for your food. I didn't ask for your money. I didn't ask for your place here. I only asked life for one thing. A chance to learn. The courtyard fell silent. Even the bully blinked. She wasn't expecting a response like that. The girl continued softly, if you think I don't belong here because I was poor, I can't change your mind. If you think I'm less than you, that's your choice. But I didn't come here to take anything from you. I only came here to study. Just like you. Her words were simple. But they carried a strength the students weren't used to. The billionaire's daughter squeezed her hand with pride. And for the first time since entering the school grounds, some students looked at the girl not with judgment, but respect. A few even stepped back, embarrassed for laughing earlier. But the bully wasn't finished, not yet. She opened her mouth to deliver another cruel insult. When she suddenly froze. Standing behind the two girls was the billionaire himself. He had arrived unexpectedly for a meeting with the headmaster and witnessed the last part of the confrontation. His face was unreadable. His eyes locked onto the bully. She went pale instantly. Because the man staring at her wasn't just a father. He was the most powerful parent in the school. And he had heard everything.